the Damage Report, and we've got a big show coming up for you in not much longer, about 40 minutes or so. Jared Jackson is going to be joining me. He's normally here on Wednesdays, but it was the inauguration, and Janky insisted. So it's going to be a big news Thursday. I think it might be the first, actually, but it should be awesome. We've got a lot of news to go through. Biden, as he said he was going to, actually did quite a bit on his first day. So we're going to be breaking down sort of the highlights of that and giving you our reaction, a little bit of response to that, of which we're also going to have some here because the right is having to process a lot of tough feelings right now. And so that's going to be fun and maybe a little bit scary. So we've got that coming up for you. We just got, there's a lot. There's a lot. We're going to play you a bit of what I'm going to describe as the horniest monologue ever on cable news. So that'll be fun. But anyway, thank you to all of you who are joining me on this pre-show. Glad to have you here, especially since we didn't get to have one yesterday. It sort of threw off my rhythm. Glad to have you all here right now. And especially to the nearly half of you who've hit the like button. Very nice of you to see that. So thank you for that. Like I said, we didn't have a pre-show on Wednesday. So you might not know that on Tuesday, so normally on Mondays, we do our top 10 list. Francesca and I do a top 10 list, and we release it to our tier 2 and tier 3 YouTube members. We didn't have a show on Monday, but we did do one on Tuesday, and it was the top 10 formative political moments for Francesca and I. So the big events going back about 2 decades total that sort of put us on the path or modified the path we were on politically. I actually learned quite a bit about Francesca in that. I think she did as well. So that is available. It's on the website right now for tier 2 and tier 3 YouTube members. So thank you to everybody who is supporting the channel in that way. That said, I do want to get to this news because we have a lot of it. And the headline that I've got for you there is Fox News processing their grief and going through it. Jesse Tapia, thank you so much for becoming a tier 2 member. I appreciate that. And there is a lot of that. So first of all, you have the petty. I don't know if it's really a stage of grief. Pettiness. Salt and pettiness, is that one? Well, we have that. So Sean Hannity, he didn't like Biden's speech. Now, I get it. I've been there. I've not liked presidential speeches too. Like, for instance, I haven't liked when Trump will come out, as he did in his inaugural address. Go back and watch his inaugural address, and it is a scary thing. It's a thing about, we won, we've got the power, we're going to do this thing. And that, really became sort of a through line to the Trump presidency. His speech at the convention was kind of like that both times, honestly. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of internet problems here. But anyway, so look, I didn't like a lot of Trump's speeches. I didn't like that they were also often sort of like intentionally trying to intimidate some of the most vulnerable groups in America. I didn't like that, the constant xenophobia and all of that. Not a big fan of that. He doesn't like Biden's speech for slightly different reasons. He says this: I'm going to be very blunt, honest, and objective here. Spoiler alert, he will not. It sounded like a student council president acceptance speech. Zero substance, no soaring rhetoric whatsoever. It's like he half mumbles. I can't even explain it. He looks tired. I can just see him about now saying I need a nap. Look, if you want to say that it was low energy, fine, whatever. Okay, he is very old. I will grant you that, and it apparently was very cold there. There was no soaring rhetoric. Look, my biggest criticism with that is Sean Hannity doesn't want any soaring rhetoric from Biden. It's just such a bullshit comment. It's not like, well, I wanted to be inspired. I entered the room, a blank slate, and I wanted to just feel my soul soar. No, you didn't want that. If it had been there, and arguably I think for some centrists at the very least it was, you don't like it. You don't want it. So don't offer that up as a criticism and pretend that you're being honest. You certainly can't offer it up and pretend that you're being objective, because you're just not. In terms of zero substance, no, it's not fair to say that there was zero substance. There wasn't as much of the substance as I would have wanted. But again, he wouldn't have wanted that had it been there. He doesn't want more promises about what Biden is going to do because he doesn't want Biden to do anything. So, look, saying you don't like the speech, I have no doubt that he is being honest when he says he doesn't like the speech. But the reasons he gives are so dishonest because they don't represent the actual issues he has with Biden becoming president. He then said, citing a Politico headline which stated Biden is about to give the most important inaugural speech since Lincoln, he said, "Good grief, if that's it, we're in deep trouble. The Gettysburg Address, it was not." So look, the Politico headline is up its own ass. Let's admit that. Is it an important inaugural address? Sure. Why? Well, for reasons that Sean Hannity can't admit. The fact that it comes just 2 weeks after people murdered people in the Capitol seems pretty goddamn important. But Sean Hannity can't acknowledge that because Sean Hannity doesn't want you to think about the fact that people who love him and love the politicians that he loves were the ones who beat a cop to death with a fire extinguisher. So he has to pretend that that doesn't actually make sense when it does make some sense. And look, in terms of overall the Gettysburg Address, it was not. I'm going to have to, I apologize, because, generally I try to be professional of that, but shut the fuck up. No, seriously. Like, you just spent 5 years of watching Trump addresses where he would frequently confuse himself into going off on a tangent about how his shit backs up his toilet. And you have an issue with the fact that that wasn't the Gettysburg Address? Honestly, can you find one sentence of criticism of Trump's speeches for not having enough soaring rhetoric and substance and all of that from Sean Hannity from the entire first term of the Trump presidency? And you know that you can't. So again, I can criticize Biden's speech, and you know why I can do it? Because I also criticize Trump's speech, and a lot of others too. I can look at all of them, and I can try to be objective. There are times when we finished coverage of Bernie rallies where I've said that, it's mostly what I've heard before or something like that. I can do that because I actually try to be something like honest and objective, something that he has absolutely no interest in doing. So it's just a petty outburst. It's, I really thought that Trump would still be president. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him and Lady Gaga. And why is J-Lo there? I don't like these people. I want to see Scott Baio. It's just the petty, childish. It's processing the grief in the exact way that you would expect Donald Trump would. So it's almost perfect in that way, honestly. Now we got a bit more with Lou Dobbs in a second, but I want to read a few of these comments. Chuck Osecki says, Trump has been practicing his backstroke in a swimming pool of burger meat in Mar-a-Lago and been shooting ketchup on sluice sliders awaiting his trial. That's pretty good. I was talking in one of the DM groups there's a very real chance that, who might be perfectly fine right now? Trump. He did not want to be president, really. He didn't want to not be president because that involves losing, but he didn't want to be president. And now it's done. And his base still loves him. And now there's a lot of opportunity available to him. And let's not forget that he's massively rich, even if not as rich as he says he is. He's still very rich. So he's got that going for him, which is nice. He's probably quite okay right now. Electric Blue Omelet Dragon says, John, loved the top 10 list this week. It was so cool hearing the two of you talk about those moments. Thank you. Thank you, Electric Blue. We had fun with that. We have a lot of different ideas for sorts of top 10 lists. It's been quite fun so far. And remember, anybody who signs up for the Tier 2 or Tier 3 membership, you get access to, now it's 5 top 10 lists. And think about it. We're going to be producing one every week. So in a year's time, there's going to be a lot of additional content there. Kelly Quigley, thank you for upgrading your membership to Tier 2. Appreciate that. Jumbuck Wrangler says, love listening to live shows. Can I be Soapbox Dragon? You may. Global Astro says, your next TikTok, put a finger down, needs more Dragon Daddy energy. You look like you were being forced against your will, haha. Look, it's TikTok, so it's new. I was standing and holding my phone up, which is a little bit different, but I wasn't being forced against my will. I had fun with it. This is more of my home. I need to branch out from my home. Tempo Dam says, unity shouldn't have been message, should have been lead by example and bring them along for the wins. Yeah, I like that. That sounds good. Lamine Davis says, I'm so confused. American carnage is soaring rhetoric? GTFO. Yeah, exactly. It's just one big this you. We know who you were. We know what you said. We know more importantly all the things that you didn't say. So, I understand. So I'm going to say this to you because, this is just us. We're going to do, over the next few months, quite a bit of checking in with right-wing media and right-wing politicians. And the reason we're going to do that is because we've transferred power. We're now in the Biden years. That's good. That's good. But our job doesn't stop. And so we are going to be engaged in continuing to do what we do. And that now has to take on at least 2 different forms. One is going to be advocacy and pressure. and holding Biden accountable. And like, I guess there's a subset of, being happy when he does good things. And we're going to have a little bit of that on the show today. So honestly, there's a little bit of that coming. But the pressure on the one hand, the other is I have no intention of letting my guard down for the next 2 years and just suddenly being shocked that, oh, there's this whole new group and they've got this crazy leader who's going to be running. I have no interest in being caught unawares when that happens. The right is not going away. They're certainly not going to sleep for 2 years. They're going to be out there. They're going to be organizing, and I want to know what they're doing. How are they talking about different issues? How are they organizing? What are they focusing on? What lies are they telling? I think that this is very important. Now, I understand that there are some of you who might not be as interested in that, so I apologize. You're going to have other sorts of content available. But I want to know what these people are doing, and I don't just mean Fox News. I don't even just mean right-wing media. We have to be watching for these people if we're going to ward off their attacks. Because honestly, if Biden spends the next 4 years playing defense against the Republicans, how much are we going to be able to get him to do? So it makes our job harder having to fight on all sides, but that also isn't exactly new for us. That's what we signed up for. That's what we've been engaged in for years. And so this takes on a different flavor, but it is a continuation of the same sort of, relatively asymmetric universal warfare that we need to be engaged in. Anyway, Rob Shively says, and suddenly I don't get notifications. Ugh, sorry about that. I don't know. Sometimes it just doesn't send them. Let's see. What are the people saying? Mark Bug says, dude, you can't say Trump's first term like there's going to be a second. No. That cannot happen. Like and share, people, please. Yes, please, like the stream and share it if you haven't already. You never know. He could run again. Tempo Dan. How's it going, Tempo Dan? Upgraded their membership to tier 2. Thank you for that. And enjoy the top 10 list. T. Underhill did as well. Upgrading. Thank you. Look at all the upgrading going on. Thank you. Wayne Sugahara says, love you, Dragon Daddy, but you need to work on your sign-off in these live feeds. I have seen up your nose a few too many times. Remember, said with love. Noted. It's a live video. It's not as official. I'm the only one here. I'm the only one doing any of this. Dragon Mother Feline says, I was not looking for substance in the inauguration speech. I wanted truth and honesty. Biden delivered. Sure. I wanted those things too. And I think he did. Like, look, Biden is as flawed as all humans are. And I think that part of his sort of everyman persona is played up in sort of an obnoxious way. But I think some of what he presents himself as is true. It's just that for me doesn't accomplish all of the policy goals that I have, which is why the work continues. This is John, sign us off. That's pretty good. Okay, let's move to the second bit of the grief, and that is Lou Dobbs. Okay, is it creepy being there alone, Monique? Monique? Not really. I've sort of gotten used to it. It's sort of nice. I'm not wearing shoes right now. I'm just in stocks. It's nice, actually. I don't mind it. So Lou Dobbs had this to say. So we had Sean Hannity was sort of petty and salty and like, I don't like his speech. Lou Dobbs is in denial. So he had this to say. Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the Republican National Committee, as RNC chair, lost the Senate control. She also lost the presidency. She has been reelected to head the RNC. In point of fact, all three, this is Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy, Ronna McDaniel, bear tremendous responsibility for what we saw ensue from November 3rd on and the results. It was them. It wasn't Trump. Don't say it was. Trump didn't lose the Senate, and he sure didn't lose the presidency. And he's not responsible for the violence, which I do try to pretend didn't actually happen. He's not responsible for anything. Somebody else is. Whoever. I don't know. Find a person. Ronna McDaniel or something. He probably hasn't talked about her in 6 months, but now she's to blame. But wait, no, she's not to blame. Mitch McConnell's to blame. Mitch McConnell is, after all, Senate Majority Leader. If it's not him, then who is it? Wait. Maybe it's Kevin McCarthy. Screw it. It's not Mitch McConnell. It's Kevin McCarthy because he's in the House and it's the people's house. And so, the buck stops with the people, I guess. It's whoever. It's whoever. Except that it's not Trump. It's definitely not Trump. He's not responsible for the campaign that he ran, seemingly not taking advice from anyone, and then not actually trying to get his followers to vote by mail or vote early, like demonizing that practice, and then being shocked when it turns out that probably lost him the election, and then lying about it and getting people's hopes up for month after month, and then inspiring attack against the Capitol. It was probably Ronna McDaniel, honestly, when I think about it after all that. No, No. And no, you guys, and when I say you guys, I mean Lou Dobbs, you delighted in talking about it as Trump's party. Trump is everything. And that was convenient for you for a little bit. You know how? Whenever anything good would happen, whenever there was any win, it was Trump's, right? Because he's responsible. But if he's responsible, then ipso facto, he's responsible. You don't get to just take the wins and forget the losses. Well, you can because you're in a cult of personality. But that isn't how it actually works in reality. And so I don't know which of these two is sadder, the sort of petty, his speech was bad, or the, my daddy never did anything wrong. I don't know. They're both pretty sad, though. But that's not it. We have another reaction, and this one's different than the first two, which we'll turn to in just a sec. Mo S., welcome to Tier 2 membership. Please enjoy that top 10 list, top 10 political formative moments. Daniel says, why didn't I hear about crowd size yet? That's funny. I don't think they've talked about that yet. I mean, it was a good optics move to fill the space with the flags for the COVID dead. It makes it a little bit harder to mock that. And it is a pandemic. That isn't to say that they aren't doing like completely unfair criticisms. Like Sean Hannity on his radio show was like, oh, I thought Biden was going to end the pandemic on the first day. And he didn't. Now he's saying it's going to take a little bit. He never claimed that there would be no more pandemic on the first day. That's fucking stupid. That's seemingly beneath the level. And yet, there is no level. Kid of Wolf, welcome to Tier 2. Thank you for supporting the network. Miranda says you should get some rollerblades and skate around the office. I could. I'd kill myself. Morgan Kennedy says, what have you seen from QAnon since Biden has been sworn in? Thank you for carrying us through the last 4 years. A lot of hopium and trying to process it. Some breakdowns. We almost played one of the breakdowns on the show today, but I mean, if you believe the QAnon stuff seriously, you are almost certainly out of your mind. And we use that colloquially, but for some of these people, they have like mental health issues. And so playing the videos of the breakdowns, it's like, we need to understand this because this is a thing that millions of people believe, but in particular cases, am I just playing a video of a person with mental issues having a breakdown? I don't know sometimes. And so I try to tread a little bit carefully with that. Anyway, Ray Turner says, Dobbs thinks Trump's bronzer is Teflon, obviously. Exactly. Nothing sticks to that face. Nor would it want to. Scuba Steve Films, welcome to Tier 3 membership. We've got our exclusive Q&A that's up, and we'll have another one for you next month. Thank you for that. Joker says, executive order to legalize marijuana. Yeah, that's the one that's missing, actually. That would have been great. That would have been great, and it would have slotted in very well to the couple of executive orders around criminal justice reform. Like, there's a big thing you could do. Captain Super Nightman says, small head, big body, Hassan. Okay, I don't know. Why is that in here? Okay, now, the third response. So we had salt and sad. We had denial. And now we have anger, I guess, or feelings of betrayal. So that would be the Proud Boys. So there's this New York Times article about how they now have turned on him. And who knows in general, if you were to poll a bunch of them, what they would say. But a number of them on their Gab and Telegram places where they have conversations have started calling him a shill, extraordinarily weak. They've stopped urging their supporters to go to rallies or protests for Trump or for the Republican Party because Trump is apparently a beta and a cuck. And the Republican Party is even worse. Like, they didn't like the Republican Party back when they liked Trump. So it's just a whole bunch of beta cucks now. Let's see. They complained about his willingness to leave office. They said his disavowal of the Capitol rampage was an act of betrayal. So again, we have to remember multiple things. The Proud Boys are saying, how dare you disavow yourself from that violence? How dare you not protect those people? Because they also say, the fact that he didn't help those facing legal action was a betrayal. Okay, so that's in the one hand. How dare you say that you don't support this, and how dare you not protect those people? On the other hand, it was all Antifa. It wasn't us, it wasn't the right, it was just Antifa. So why are the Proud Boys saying he should be protecting Antifa from the legal consequences? Why are the Proud Boys saying he shouldn't be distancing himself from Antifa? Is it because it wasn't Antifa? And nobody's saying it actually believed it? Something to look into, I suppose. Let's see. Nicholas Fuentes, the leader of America First, another one of these sort of affiliated, proto-terrorist groups, says his response to the Capitol rampage was very weak and flaccid, and added, not the same guy that ran in 2015. Well, yeah, he has changed. It's been 5 years. People change. Trump for the worse. Most people for the worse, honestly. But yeah, the Proud Boys are now very angry with him, very frustrated with him. And does that represent all of them? Probably not. And is it possible that they will, flock back to him if he gives some sort of speech calling for more violence or something? Sure. But it sort of makes sense. He was they are the most explicitly pro-fascist part of all of this. All of this is a gradient of support for an authoritarian overthrow of America and all of that. But they're like the most out and out in support of it. They would have been 100% fine with him going in with soldiers and mowing down people. They're disappointed that they didn't get that. Instead, he left. He was forced to comply with the system. And they don't want that. And so they're at least being a little bit consistent. I mean, when QAnon finds a way that him losing doesn't actually mean that the pedophiles win, and they're crazy from start to finish, from floor to ceiling, but they're making excuses. The Proud Boys are crazy and awful, worse probably than the QAnon people, probably more prone to violence and more, explicitly fascist. But they're at least somewhat being consistent, I suppose. They want a strongman ruler, and Trump, at least as of today, he wasn't willing to do the thing that would be required for that. Okay, Smiling Dragon says, Washington State GOP Central Committee passed a resolution to censure 2 of the 3 Republican members of Congress because they voted to impeach Trump. Congress members Jamie Herrera Butler and Dan Newhouse. Thank you for that. That's interesting. That's more than the actual Congress will do. I appreciate that, Smiling Dragon. Let's see. Bing says, MAGA chuds in chat right now encouraging China and Iran to invade us and usurp Biden government. America first, man. Well, sorry. Encouraging for an invasion of America first, then America first. Or second, I suppose. Dreffid, thank you for the super chat. We need small head dragon on TDR. Maybe I'll make one at one point. That would be a good emoji. Sharpie Diesel says, now's the time to bring Brian Williamson in to give Congress a lecture on positivity to focus on what they can get done and not what they can't. I'd go for that. I'd have her back on the show again. I've interviewed her in person. She was one of 2 presidential contenders I interviewed. I think Yang was remote. She was in person. Ben Pickens says, I would have voted for a poop-covered brick over the dump, and I would have cried at the brick's inaugural speech as it sat on top of the podium doing nothing at all. That would have been soaring rhetoric indeed, assuming you could throw it high enough. Let's see. Netakins, welcome to Tier 2 membership. Look at that. Thank you so much. Lestad, thank you as well. Appreciate that. Enjoy the top 10 list. And by the way, let me know if you have recommendations, requests. Bing says the willed Antifa into existence. No, they totally did. It was convenient to pretend briefly that it was Antifa, even as, it was never consistent. It was never consistent. Is today 1776, or is it invasion by Antifa? It's in real time, it's oh, this is looking bad, I guess it's becoming Antifa. Chakuseki says, I gotta replay Final Fantasy VII. This Antifa character seems so dangerous as she single-handedly ransacked the Capitol building in numerous disguises. Exactly. D. Persley upgraded their membership to Tier 2. Thank you for that. By the way, we have more emojis coming. Tony Spurgeon says, thoughts on Riley June Williams? Where is that case going? I'm going to need to do research. I'm not familiar. I apologize. Faye Dragon says, the people Biden is surrounding himself with makes me much more hopeful for the next 4 years. Did he see a science team? Yes, that is a good area, and we're going to talk about that on the show. I'm going to end in just a minute and give you an idea of what's going to happen. Jan says, the only people saying that the pandemic would stop immediately after Biden was sworn in are the people saying COVID was fake propaganda to hurt Trump. Bingo. 100%. Bing, welcome to Tier 1 membership. Appreciate that. Okay, everybody, so I gotta go. There's so much other stuff. We might do this Linwood stuff tomorrow because that's just amazing. The stuff with the media, McConnell being thrown under the bus. It's really good. It's really good. Tony says she's the girl who stole Pelosi's laptop. Oh, interesting. I'm a little bit familiar with it. Supposedly she was gonna sell it to a friend in Russia or something. I don't know. It's weird. Kelly says, I miss Hilo. How's your puppy doing, John? My puppy's great, actually. He's having a ball. We got some new blankets for Christmas that have become his blankets, so everywhere he goes, he lays on something very velvety and smooth. He's having a good time. Riallen says, wait, Gettysburg? So Hannity wants Biden to care more about the Gettysburg citizens than the rest of America? That's good, and we will actually talk about that a little bit on the show. Rebecca says, gotta love it when you get all sweary, proving by your dragon daddy because of the fire. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, everybody, I do have to run. JR is coming. We've got an amazing show. We're going to talk about some good news, actual good news. It's not the end, but some good news. We'll have that for you in just a few. So don't go anywhere. It's like 20 minutes away. Hope to see you all there.